Hi, everyone. Hey, welcome. Welcome to our evening broadcast for me for the Center for Awakening. I'm Bill Free. I am sure I know many of you, and if I don't, I look forward to meeting you soon. And I'm happy to be hosting this. I think it's our ninth session for having a conversation on the topics of what is awakening, what is truth, what is the world. And I look forward to this one too, the next one next month. What is your path? And if you haven't watched the other sessions, please take the time to do that. It's some rich content, some rich conversation, both from the presenter and from the audience in many ways. And I've enjoyed several of them myself, enough to where I've watched them twice even. So please take advantage of that. It's free over on YouTube and probably in other places. I'm not sure where. And today or tonight is I'm on the East Coast in Maine, and tonight's conversation is what is the world? What is the world? And so uh, all of us in sometime in our life have some kind of a question about what is this place? How did I get here? I don't know what age it it happened for you, but for me, when I was maybe 10 years old, I remember just being a little 10-year-old playing and saying, "What is how did I get here? What is this place?" So it's a pretty common question that we have coming into the time and space, the body mind experience. And and that's before you ever get to any religious ideas, any kind of spiritual ideas. And then, of course, the first time you see death, you go, "Oh, what's that? I don't know if what's that?" We become very alert and very many times frightened about what death is. And of course, if you're not some kind of educated or counseled or some kind of mentored into what death is, that becomes whatever your fear factor is around the idea of somebody leaving and never coming back again. So you get this whole mental narrator going about what death is. And if I were to ask you um, what the answer to that question, what is the world in your view? What is this world in your understanding, or in your your contemplation? Is it is, and they have scientists have a real kind of a ongoing conversation about what is consciousness, the hard problem of consciousness for the scientists that think that the world came first, the Big Bang, and matter happened, and then consciousness somehow comes out of that. That's what they call the hard problem of consciousness. And there's a whole other story that doesn't really add up. It doesn't make sense at some point when they try to figure out how does consciousness come out of matter. And I'm happy to have interviewed a couple of scientists who recognize and have written papers on consciousness is being fundamental to reality, meaning that consciousness had to come first. Consciousness, formless, uh, presence had to come first. And so that leaves us with, well, what is this world? And I think in order to answer that question legitimately, we have to say, uh, who am I? If we're gonna ask the question, what is the world? I think we have to sort of back up a little bit and say, who am I? And then that takes us back to maybe the 10-year-old or the 12-year-old or the 16-year-old or whatever, where we say, how did I get here? How did all this happen? And maybe we start a study on the the evolutionary process. And if you go to the Bible, this is funny as all get out. The Bible would tell you that, well, life began, or the world began between 5 and 10,000 years ago. And after you're finished saying, scratching your head, going, okay, that one doesn't make sense. After you're finished doing that one, then you start maybe looking in what science and geology and all those kinds of things say. But for the purpose of this conversation, what is the world? This is more of a spiritual question. And I guess when we start asking the spiritual question, how did I get here? Why am I here? And where is here? We really start to go down the rabbit hole when we start asking the questions like, where is here? I remember um, I remember when I first found A Course in Miracles, I had a guy, and I was really, really, like, I was all in, super excited about it. I was reading everything I could possibly find about it because it was giving me a new reference for a lot of the Christian things that I had I'd studied for many years. And then I find the Course in Miracles, and I'm hearing things from teachers like Ken Wapnick that God doesn't even know about this place. And I'm going, what do you mean God doesn't even know about this place? How is that possible? How can God not know what he created? How can God not know about this place? And I remember having a guy, this superintendent that worked for me, and I was telling him a little bit about the Course in Miracles when it was like brand new. I'd only seen it like for a couple of weeks. And I right away recognized that has to be what hell is. This this is hell. This is where conflict is. This is where diseases are. This is where people kill each other and hate each other. And this has to be what hell is. And I remember saying to this guy that worked for me, I said, great. I'm reading this Course in Miracles, and I think this is hell. And this was, I didn't know anything. And he's standing at the front of our office area, which is a building on my property that's separate from the house. And he looks around, he's looking at the trees and stuff, and he goes, "This is hell, huh? Wow, pretty nice place." And I took with that, well, I guess this world, this experience of hell, it is whatever you make it. Whatever it is to you is what it is. And I think we really, to answer the question, what is the world, for our purpose on the spiritual path, we really have to give a reference to, like I said, who am I, or what am I? Because the world is a different place for each experience. This world, it can be an amazing, wonderful, um, blissful, happy experience for us. It can be it can be amazing, and it and it I'm going to hold my own reference to that until I give the alternate of that, or it can be a traumatic, a terrible experience. It can be an experience of living hell, and is for a lot of people. It's both polarities. It's both of those. So the question really for this conversation is, what is the world for me? What is the world for you? And why don't you type in the on the chat board on the thing, what is the world for you? Well, give some kind of statement of what is it for you? Because it's going to be different for each one of us. And as we experience uh, this unfolding, as we experience our spiritual journey, the world changes. It gets different. And it becomes a completely different experience. If you're on the journey of awakening, the world has changed since you started. The world as you knew it has changed, and it's an ever changing, deepening of your understanding of who you are. And that deepened understanding, that that continued depth of your understanding, it makes the world into something different all the time. And what's super interesting is that once you have an awakening experience, once you are really established, or have clear understanding of who you are and why you're here, this world becomes what it is, what it really is. And this is just in my uh, opinion and in my 70 years experience. I have found the world to be an amazing playground where what I am has come to recognize itself and know itself, and have lesser and lesser attachments to what I thought it was for, what I thought I was here for, and what everyone else is here for. In my mind, because the consciousness is fundamental to our reality. Consciousness, meaning consciousness comes first, and consciousness is here before time and space, before the world, the physical world as we know it, during the physical world, and long after the physical world is finished. And the scientists have also, calculated that, the world may last another billion years. Of course, how can they possibly know that? But if the world were to go, and you know that you are the infinite, you know that you know what I am is, you know what you are, which is, in my mind, that's the primary question. Who am I? Because if you know who you are or what you are, then all those other things, they come into understanding, and they come under that understanding, so that you recognize that, first of all, it's remarkable, and it's a somewhat of a miracle that, not somewhat of a miracle, it's an amazing miracle that consciousness ha has gone from the infinite, from the formless, from the just pure pure itself, pure consciousness, and it has made a physical experience, this, galaxy and the millions of other galaxies, and then dropped itself into the density of this experience, and then revealed itself to itself as itself. That's like, if that's not the if that's not the 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 most amazing thing that's ever happened. And then we can have, when we get on the spiritual path, and we start to ask those questions. We start with, those easy questions, like, what is awakening, and what is and how do I do that? And then when you have a few glimpses, you say, okay, there is something there. And then when you have the experience and you realize that, oh my God, I am that, in mostly in meditation, when you're in when you're going deeper in your understanding, and you do find that place, that sweet spot of awakening, that sweet spot of awareness, and you recognize, often, coming into a meditation, this quiet resting as presence experience, and it becomes visceral, and you recognize, because you kiss the face, you touch the experience of formless presence. Oh my God, you recognize that you found consciousness, you found the vastness that is there for eternity. You can find that. You can find that in meetings, in these kinds of meetings, when you can find it in a 3-minute meditation. You have just a moment of presence, where you recognize your true nature. You can do it. You can find it sometimes for 30 minutes. Sometimes you can be in a meditation hall. Usually this would be on a retreat, and we've seen it here on online retreats, where you just are basking in this experience of pure presence, of the vastness of the formless and the silence. And you recognize, oh my God, this is fundamental reality right here. And then when you back up, you back up, and you come back into the body mind experience, into the your name experience, and you go, oh my God, that was so cool. That was so real. That was me that's not me. That was the me, the true me, the I am that I am me. And you discover more and more what the world is. What the world is. The world is a playground. It's a sandbox for consciousness to play with 8 billion of itself in humanity, and gazillions of itself in all the bugs and other animals that don't have the cognitive apparatus that we do. But that's all God. That's all consciousness. That's all you. When one speaks of what I am, it's the same, it's speaking to the same me. When you say me, it's the same me as my me. When I say you, it's speaking to the same you as Krishna, as Yahweh, as Shiva, as all of the different symbols for the the name of God, which essentially really has no name and all names, all of these things. So what's the I guess I want to look at the chat and see what some of you said about the what uh, the world is, or what is it for? A wild adventure. Yes, 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 of course. It's unreal. It's love, peace, joy. Yes. A wild adventure, a reflection of my experience. That's an interesting statement right there, because it's not only a reflection of your experience, it's giving you what it's giving you a reflection of your thought system and your energy, your level of beliefs, your the gunas that are a karmic sort of a overflow of maybe where you've been and what your makeup, your spiritual DNA. And then I thought it was made of God, but now learning it reflects my mind. Yes. Yes, it is both of those. Joy and peacefulness. Life happens on many different levels. Yeah, that statement that Jesus made in my Father's house, he was talking about in this, the vastness of presence, the vastness of I am. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I feel that there are multiple millions of levels of 8 billion for sure, but gazillions of many mansions. This is my experience, not the world. Not the world. It's a continuous changing experience. I don't really know. Seems like experiences that point to what is home. Yes, yes, yes. I love that one. A movie about a journey going nowhere to a place we never left. Yes, yes, that would be A Course in Miracles, kind of a uh, statement about what the world is, and also the world is, in my mind, this is a place where consciousness experiences itself. If you follow the teaching of Ramana, he would say, he would tell you that and has told his devotees that the highest purpose for showing up, for coming here, is to know your true nature. I've met with swamis in Rishikesh that have posited that it has taken it may have taken 1 million years for you to actually get here, to where you went from uh, some other life form to where you showed up as in the cognitive apparatus that really can self-realize, which is what we can be super, that's one of the things I'm super grateful that I decided to come in and have this experience where consciousness can take a look at itself and get to know itself and get to know itself so completely that it gets to know itself in all of the other life forms. It gets to know itself completely in all of the other the inanimate and animate objects of time and space. And so it's just it's a, what is the world? You could say is it's everything, and it's what what I make it out to be. And on a spiritual question, what is the world? It's just what someone said. It's a reflection of my mind. And we have tools where we can what seems like it's not really we, it's not really Bill. Bill doesn't never does anything. Consciousness uses Bill's mind to have its experience. And consciousness is playing in this sandbox with your bodysuit. Isn't that cool? It's just playing in this bodysuit, and it really becomes a happy dream that children play. You once you understand your location, once you understand your true nature, you take some of the seriousness off of the body mind experience, right? That takes some deepening. It takes some releasing. You know, the experience of awakening. It doesn't happen in like one instant, and it doesn't happen one time and then you're done. We're all awakening. We're all awakening in this body mind experience that we call time and space. And what many people have offered in their uh, description in what is the world for you, or what do you think it is? It's it's a reflection of your mindset, and it changes, but you don't. The world, your interpretation of the world changes the deeper you go in understanding that you and the world are one. And your experience in the world, in the physical world, even though it leaves, you stay, you're always you. You're always consciousness. Even when the bodysuit is gone, you're still you. You no longer have this apparatus that has your name that you have sort of owned and called yourself. When this apparatus goes, consciousness doesn't. When this world goes, consciousness doesn't. And if we're going to talk about, or if I'm going to talk about, and I'm happy to uh, have anyone share your thoughts or your input about some of these ideas, some of these questions. If we're only talking about the physical world, we're really just talking about the basic, just the foundation of the thing that comes later. We're not even talking about the real world. We're not talking, if we're only talking about the physical world, we're talking about the world of textures and sounds and movement and densities and descriptions and narratives and all of these other characteristics. None of those are actually the real world. So we have to really look at what is if we're answering the question, what is the world? After we unpack that for a little while, then we can go deeper maybe and ask the question, what is the real world? So if I were, and I'm asking you, uh, type in the chat what you think the real world is. What is the real world? If this is the physical world and it's the it really didn't come first, it comes later, then what's the real world? And how can we know what that is? How can we have a, how can we say what the real world is? Where did I come from? Awareness, infinite bliss. Yes. Beyond description. Yeah. Yeah. I don't real Oh, that was an older one. Yeah, the real world is in my mind, that's the thing. That's the world to want to have a, understanding about the real world. I love A Course in Miracles. The more the deeper I go into the understanding of other uh, teachings. And I shared this with some of you recently. The Bhagavad Gita is amazing. Krishna and Arjuna is like top drawer. And it's giving, it's giving the picture of the human experience and the real world experience. It's giving that picture right there in the Bhagavad Gita. And if you haven't read it, Stephen Mitchell has given a really great uh, 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 just way of interpreting the Bhagavad Gita, and it's beautiful. But the so in the chat it says that in order to answer the question, we need to learn metaphysical teachings. Yeah, I mean, you could energy. The metaphysical teachings are part of our our deepening in our understanding of the direct experience, the non-dual teaching, of course. And I'm just reading what Natasha said: energy that always is infinite. Yes, that's I think that's a true statement, Natasha. It says, in Genesis, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And the Word, in my definition, is the vibrational frequency of God's infinite being, or the vibrational frequency of the divine that possibly, when it decided to have this physical experience. I don't know, how that happened, but maybe it was that Big Bang experience where consciousness said, make physical world. However that happened, who knows? Oneness. There is no real world. Amy says there is no real world. There is only the great womb of pure potential out of which all arises. It is nameless, formless, beyond all description. It cannot be experienced. It is. Oh, now, Amy, you have been you have been you've been talking to the professor. That's that's an awesome description of what there is no real world. Yeah, that's true. Well, the I was going to use the description of what the course says about the real world, because the real world is brings it to us in a way that we can that we so when I say we, it's more of a relative and a transcendent experience, because you're actually doing both. You're leaving this identity, you're moving to an out of body understanding and experience. And the Course in Miracles, if you look at I think it's after workbook lesson 290, it's got one of the 14 instructions in the course, and it gives us a description of what the real world is. And so it's not the real world that Amy's saying that there is no real world. The real world that I'm speaking of is the real world in relationship to awakening consciousness or awakening awareness. The Course says that the real world is a symbol. So right off the bat, it's in agreement with what Amy is saying, that it's just a symbol. It's a symbol of an experience that seems to be uh, happening for consciousness that thought it was a body mind and now is beginning to recognize and realize that it's not. And when I first read this statement from this instruction in the Course, it blew my mind a little bit. And there's another kind of a description of the real world in the text, in one of the chapters in the text. But this one says that the real world is like the rest of what perception offers. So it's talking about a relative experience. And it says it stands for what is opposite to the world you made. So it's actually um, offering each of us that it's an interpretation of the world that we made. That this world that we made, that is made up in our own mind of what it is made up of our interpretation of what everything is. And it says that your world in this passage, your world is seen through eyes of fear and brings the witnesses of terror to your mind. So if you are one that lives in fear and in that lower guna vibrational frequency of tamas, then it's going to bring you a reflection of the eyes of fear and the witnesses of that experience. And the real world, it says, cannot be perceived except through eyes forgiveness blesses. So they see a world where terror is impossible and witnesses to fear cannot be found. So you're looking through, it's actually putting on a different headset. You could say it's a virtual headset where you're seeing, as someone on the chat mentioned, you're seeing a reflection of your mind, and it most often that reflection is put there by the way you were raised, the traumas that you had, the emotional baggage that got layered and added on to you, and that is your world experience. That's your interpretation of the world, and that's why many people that we know, as we travel the world, as these bodysuits age, that we change. Our perspective changes, our outlook changes. Some people you'll meet that will swear the glass is half empty, and the others will say it's half full. And that some people are constant complainers and victims, and other people are always positive and have this amazing outlook on life. And it doesn't really change. It doesn't matter. I mean, it is nice to have money, but you don't have to have money to be happy. A lot of people are unhappy that have a lot of money, and a lot of people are very happy that have nothing. And we've all met people at both levels, both areas. So I think the real world experience uh, that I'm suggesting here is the experience of at least having a hint, having a a hint, a glimpse, a deepening of uh, your transformed version of the world by knowing that you're not this bodysuit. That's the way this world changes. This world changes first and foremost when you recognize that you're not this. I mean, you really recognize it, even if it's only for a moment, even if it's only for a out of body experience. And often for young children, it first happens when they're young, when they're dreaming, and they have this dream. You know, you wake up from the dream and you go, "Oh my God, where did I go?" And then you have a few experiences like that when you're you're awake. You're not in a deep sleep, but you're having these, we go on these travels, daydreaming or whatever. Uh, but I love this next description that the course gives the real world, that really this settles for me the direct experience that we all have available through our deepened understanding of the truth, which happens I mean, it happens in quiet. All our deepest experience of understanding the truth, besides what we learn, what we read, and the amazing text that we find that's been spoken about for thousands of years. It's these descriptions that we can listen to and recognize that sounds true. It says the real world shows a world seen differently through quiet eyes and with a mind at peace, right? The real world is seen differently through quiet eyes and a mind at peace. Now that's the destination that sings to my heart. And I'm sure that that's the destination that sings to yours. Nothing but rest is there. So we have this real world experience available in the bodysuit while while we're playing in the sandbox. Consciousness is using this bodysuit, that bodysuit with your name, to play in the sandbox, and we get to have the real world experience. This is having your cake and eating it too. This is the big deal, that you can be happy in this place. You can have a happy experience, even though travesties will happen, wars will happen, and they have their place, and we have our place too. When these wars happen, we have our place too. When terrible things happen, that's when we go to work, knowing what we know, being what we are, and abiding in the place of peace in behalf of whatever the situation is that's happening, whether it's a uh, presidential election or a car crash or someone dying what seems like unnecessarily, or someone rejoicing and winning a gold medal, whatever it is. We have a place that with this understanding of what our real world experience has available, we can drop. We have a friend, Lisa and I have a friend, Vicky Poppy, drop, stop, and roll, put a fire out. She goes, stop, drop, and pray. And that means when something terrible happens, stop, drop, and pray is it's our thing. It's okay. We're on call. We're all on call. We all have beepers, and we all can do that for each other and the world. And it's meaningful and it has effect. Why? Because there's only one of us. There's only I. And actually, that's not even true because its consciousness doesn't even have an I. But we're all that. And we all have contact with that. It's as close to us, it's closer than our breath because awareness is aware of the breath, right? And it doesn't leave. It doesn't go somewhere, it doesn't change, it doesn't go high and low. Awareness always is available. It's always right here. It's always you. And it's that thing that we can do. We can stop, drop, and pray. We can drop into presence. We can drop into that sattva, that high frequency of beingness, and actually we can go beyond it to just pure being, pure is. And once established there, right? So we're there right now, and then we can bring whatever is happening, bring the presidents, bring the France in. Oh, awesome! You guys had a new election, and UK did, and the United States is working on it. Bring both of those candidates, or all three or five of them. Bring them all in. Yeah, just bringing you into your true nature, your primordial beingness, coming in right here. Doesn't mean it's going to change. It just means that we're washing it with the influence of the real world of consciousness itself. And to continue on, I'll just finish this one paragraph. It says, "There are no cries of pain and sorrow heard." This is the real world description in instruction number 8 in the Course in Miracles. And for nothing there, the real world remains outside forgiveness. And forgiveness, for the purposes of this, forgiveness just recognizes that nothing ever happened. Forgiveness recognizes that everything is God. Everything is presence. And the sights are gentle. So this is still our interpretation, and what happens is a deepening experience of the real world. The sights and sounds are gentle, and only happy sights and sounds can reach the mind that has forgiven itself or has released itself, you could say. Whenever the use of the word forgiven is mentioned, you could say it also means release. You've released. I am frequency has released its identity as a bodysuit, as a body mind, and it's free. It's free to be itself, and it's still playing in the sandbox of time and space. What need has such a mind for thoughts of death, attack, and murder, and so on? So the real world is a symbol of the dream that sin or separation, guilt, and fear is over. And that is our living experience. That's something that's available all the time for everyone through the understanding of inner peace and happiness. And this is what we really try to support our audience with, each of you and whoever comes into our storefront, comes into one of our meetings like this. We want to share with you, share with them that you don't have to suffer. That there is a better way. There's a way to live in this world that can seem like hell to many, and it can seem and often is heaven to just as many, and or maybe not just as many. It seems like that old New Testament thing. Narrow is the gate to the kingdom of heaven, and wide or broad is the gate to destruction. So there is that. It's probably not equal. It seems like it's not equal, but it is available to everyone. And so I'd love to hear from you. We have about 10 minutes left. If there's anyone that would like to add a comment or anything that you would like to share about what's been said tonight, please raise your hand. while we're sitting, and we're not really waiting. If no one raises their hand, that's fine. That's really perfect. Um, what's happening in the moment right now in your experience with awareness? Because there's always the opportunity to shift from expecting something to happen and recognizing that there's an expectation on the table, and then just sitting very patiently in awareness with quiet eyes and a mind at peace with itself. And this is the practice. This is the everyday practice. If you want to have awakening reveal itself, uh, this is the fast track to the top of the summit. The fast track to the top of the summit is a mind at peace with itself and doesn't feel the need to fill the space. Now I'm filling the space as a pointing mechanism, and the more that we can quietly rest as awareness, the more that we can be attentive or have attention as awareness, everything can still happen within that space. Everything can still happen, and you don't have to leave. You're still you. You're the same you in the activity of the body mind. And actually, this is where another practice comes in, where, and this is the coolest, this is so cool. If you just zoom out just enough where you can watch the crazy movie that you're making that has your name on it, you can watch it and see it without judgment, see it without labeling, see it in what was said with eyes that forgiveness holds. It's really see it with no attachment. Just allow that movie to happen. You don't change anything anyway. You don't really make choices. They happen, and then you take the mind takes credit for it. But just zoom out and be watching as the witness of the movie, and just allow the movie to be exactly as it is. Nothing needs to change. And then when you develop that that new way of being, where the real world, that's where the real world shows up as your everyday experience. It's where the real world shows up as God incarnate. This is what we have available for us when we have ears to hear and when we have a little bit of understanding of how to experience the real world, how to experience what A Course in Miracles calls Christ vision. It's not, it doesn't, you don't have Superman eyes where you see things, where you see through things. You have Superman or Superwoman eyes because you're not using the eyes to see. You're using awareness to recognize. You're using awareness to recognize, and you're using what happens when awareness comes online and you develop your relationship, and when you develop your your holy relationship, that is you, you are awareness, you have then taken the place, and I'm not talking about the body mind, but when you have taken the place of when you've taken on awareness, you have taken on what the Course would call the Holy Spirit. And you begin to have eyes that see, that don't judge. And you begin to have a new listening device that is listening from a place of pure peace and pure happiness. And the very last paragraph that's in this What is the Real World, it talks a little bit about this when it says the Holy Spirit, or I would say awakened awareness, has no need for time when it has served its purpose. It says his purpose, but I don't like to use the male pronouns. Now it waits but that one instant more for God to take his final step, and time has disappeared. And this is what happens for each one of us. Because when you have understood your true nature, when you have understood that you are the Holy Spirit, that you are consciousness itself, that you are awareness itself, that is that's the moment where God takes his final step. In that instant, it says, is our goal, for it contains the memory of God. And the memory of God is nothing more than peace, than happiness, than presence, than it's our true nature. It's that visceral feeling that we could call bliss, we could call happiness. And then finally it says, as we look on a world forgiven or released, it is he, or it is God, who calls us and comes to take us home, reminding us of our identity, which our forgiveness has restored to us. And so, where is home? Home is just the understanding of our true nature. So, what is the world? The world is the playground where understanding and self-realization occurs for consciousness itself, for God. And thank you all for being with us tonight for this first of our 4 series. We're going to have 3 other different ways of speaking about these things. What is the world? I look forward to listening and watching with all of you. And thank you for joining with us tonight.